They tied a dog to the train tracks to die. But what happened next changed everything. The rails shook under the weight of the coming train. A small dog, tied down with cruel wire, fought for breath. Emily saw him first. Frank limped to her side, his hands already bleeding. Together, they pulled against time itself. The rails were alive now, humming, a hard metal thrum that got under the skin. Emily tasted iron in the air. The warning horn cut across the valley like a ruling handed down. No appeal, no delay. On the gravel beside the tracks, the small dog lay twisted, his lungs pushed and failed, the wire biting into his tan fur. A name would come later. Right now he was just breath and prayer. Frank. Emily's voice cracked. She didn't wait for an answer. She threw herself into the ballast, knees scraping, palms ripping, and reached for the wire. It had been wound mean, by a hand that wanted it to hurt. She found the first twist and pulled. It didn't move. The horn hit again, louder, closer. Frank slid down the embankment, his bad knee buckling once before holding. "Don't spook him," he said, already kneeling, his breath short. He locked eyes with the dog, wide, glassy, still trying. "Hey, buddy, stay with us." Emily's fingers stung as the first coil gave a little. "Wire cutters?" she asked, knowing the answer, not stopping. "Trucks back by the lot," Frank said. "We don't have the minutes." They didn't have the seconds. The rails shook harder. Beyond the curve, sunlight flared off the locomotive's face. Heat rode ahead of it, a baked breath sweeping down the line. The dog let out a thin sound, half whine, half surrender. Emily pressed her forearm under the wire to lift it off his chest. The barbs bit into her skin. She gritted her teeth. "You're okay," she said, not sure who she meant. She hooked a nail under a twist and pulled until the nail tore. The wire rolled enough to slide, cutting through her glove like it wasn't there. Frank leaned over the hind legs. They wrapped the ankles. He muttered, "No swearing. Just a set jaw and steady hands. Give me a little slack." Emily lifted. The dog's ribs fluttered against her wrist, hot and sharp. The horn hit again, and this time the ground answered, a deep drum under everything. Gravel jumped. A shadow fell behind them. Boots scuffed at the top of the bank. "Leave it," a man said. "It's mine." Emily didn't look. She knew the voice. Everybody in town did. "Mr. Harris." His tone carried that flat Midwest threat, rehearsed, hollow, dangerous. "You hear me?" Frank didn't look either. "Get down here," he said without turning, "or get out of the way." "Mr. Harris snorted. "Dogs mean. Bit my boy." Animal control said 3 strikes and the horn drowned him out. The curve lit with white. The locomotive's face was there now, unstoppable, its lights already on them. The beam carved their shapes out of the dust. Air turned to wind, pushing at their backs. Emily's voice dropped low, calm only because there was no room for anything else. "Frank, I need that back leg free. I can take the chest." Almost. Frank's fingers found a seam in the wire. He slid his thumb under, gave himself a handle, and pulled. Skin moved. The wire didn't. The dog's head rolled against Emily's wrist. She saw a tag of dried blood on his ear. Under the dirt, his eye focused on her for a beat. No language, just a living thing trading anything for air. "I've got you." She shifted her weight, pinned her forearm to keep the wire off his ribs, and reached with her free hand for a jag where the strands knotted. It cut deep into her palm. Copper filled her mouth. She pulled anyway. The knot turned, gave. The wire slackened over the dog's chest. "Now," Frank barked. Emily shoved the loop wide. The dog dragged a breath that sounded like a tear ripping. His ribs lifted once, twice. His head came up, then dropped. He didn't fight. He had nothing left. "Mr. Harris slid halfway down the bank. You're breaking the law. That's property." Frank looked up at him then, eyes cold. "Go home." But the train was already there. Collins closed the folder. "From what I see now," he said quietly, "he's been set up for removal from the start." The room felt smaller, tighter. Emily's stomach turned, not from surprise, but from the ugly confirmation of what she had felt the moment she saw that wire twisted around a small body. Harris hadn't been scared of Buddy. He had wanted him gone. Frank rubbed the top of his cane with one thumb. He knew folks wouldn't check. They'd just take Harris' word. That's how the man had lived his whole life. Emily lifted her eyes from Buddy to the vet. Can we use this? Can we take it to someone who'll listen? Collins hesitated, then nodded slowly. If you're willing to stand in the open and fight, once you go that way, you can't go back. Emily didn't answer right away. She crouched beside the blanket and laid her palm over Buddy's ribs. His heartbeat thudded, faint but stubborn, under her hand. She felt the same pulse in her own bandaged skin, a rhythm that wouldn't stop, not after what she'd seen. The door creaked. A boy slipped in, maybe 12 or 13, cap pulled low, shoulders hunched like he was hiding from more than the chill. Emily straightened. Can I help you? The boy didn't look at her first. His eyes went straight to Buddy. His jaw tightened. He bit his lip before speaking. My dad says not to come here, says it's none of my business, but it is. Frank's cane tapped once against the floor. You're Harris' son. The boy nodded, eyes locked on the dog. He never bit me, he said quickly, almost tripping over the words. Not once. He'd lick my hands, follow me around. I told Dad that, but he didn't care. He just wanted him gone. Emily's chest pulled tight. Why are you telling us this? Because I couldn't stand it. Yesterday, when I saw what he did, tying him to the tracks, I knew he'd gone too far. People think my dad's tough, but he's just mean. I'm tired of being quiet. Collins glanced at Emily. His eyes widened just enough to say what they both knew at once. This wasn't just testimony. This was the crack in Harris' wall. Emily crouched, bringing her eyes level with the boys. If you say this in front of others, they'll hear you. They'll have to. The boy's face went pale. He'll kill me if I talk. Frank's voice softened, something he rarely did. Son, sometimes the truth is the only way you make it through, and sometimes, it's the only way a life gets saved. The boy swallowed, eyes back on Buddy. They brimmed with guilt. I'll talk, just, not alone. Emily placed a hand on his shoulder. You won't be. For the first time since the train thundered past, she felt something more than fear or anger. She felt the faint edge of hope, fragile, small, but alive, like the heartbeat under her hand. The next morning, the air in town felt different, not obvious. People still lined up at the diner for coffee, still filled their trucks with feed, still tipped their hats as if nothing had shifted. But Emily could feel it, in the way eyes lingered a moment longer when she walked in. Word had started to move, quiet and quick. She sat with Frank at a corner booth, Buddy's crate by her feet. He wasn't strong enough to walk far yet, but his eyes were brighter, his breath steadier. Frank stirred his coffee without drinking it. He's cracking, he said. Harris, he wouldn't be this loud if he weren't scared. Emily kept her gaze on the window where the town square blurred against the glass. Scared of losing control. Frank nodded. Men like him. They build their whole life on folks believing their word without question. Once that slips, he tapped his cane against the floor. They get sloppy. The bell above the door jingled. Harris walked in. His shoulders carried their usual weight, but his face was drawn, his eyes too sharp, scanning the room. Conversations dipped for just a second before resuming, and that pause said more than words. He ordered coffee, but his voice lacked its usual dominance. Emily felt Buddy stir in the crate, a faint whine rising at the sound of Harris' voice. She slid her boot closer, steadying the crate, and kept her expression calm. Harris glanced their way. He lingered, then turned back to the counter. The man behind him, a rancher Emily barely knew, shifted his stool an inch, almost imperceptible, but away from Harris. It was a hairline fracture, but fractures spread.
If this tale moved you, if you felt the tension, the heartbreak, and the triumph, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring more thrilling, emotional, and inspiring stories your way. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Do you believe dogs have an extraordinary sixth sense? Share your thoughts and personal stories with us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.